hanging out with like-minded people. I can't say how beneficial that is.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's edition of In the Den. I'm excited that we have a great opportunity here to talk with somebody that we've been talking back and forth here for a little bit of time, because not only is he a small to medium-sized business owner like many of you, he has a great conference coming up that's going to be in Orlando, and that is Bren VanderZwaag of the GutterCon and Gutter Experts, as well as Metro Gutter, out of Nova Scotia in Canada.
That's
Bren,
right.
welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. So first and foremost, kind of going to get some things out of the gate, just some quick housekeeping items. Number one is obviously got this great conference. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about you, things that have made you successful. Talk a lot about the lineup that you got coming on here for this particular show. And it really is power players in the industry, with the exception of me not being on the main stage, but I will be at the show.
Hey, we could cancel someone and put you up there if you like.
That guy Lance, we'll leave him off.
Yeah.
We'll leave him
Who
off.
is that guy anyway?
Now his story's much better than mine. But one of the things that I kind of like to do as far as when we get the audience rolling is just kind of be able to talk a little bit about who you are, not from your business sense, but just you in general. And what kind of makes you tick, and what are the things that make you different. So I like to start off every den with some rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Okay. Let's start with the first one. The name is Bren VanderZwaag. Give me the orientation of that particular name.
Oh, where it comes from?
Where it comes from. And is there an etymology behind it?
Gee, you're using big words. Well, my mother and father gave me that name.
Okay. It's a good start.
Isn't that normal?
It is normal.
My father, turning 80 this coming year, came over from Holland. So he came over when he was 7 years old, just after the war. Like a lot of Dutch, and a lot of Europeans after the war came to Canada and to the US, and came over as a dairy farmer. And he lived in Ontario and moved to where we are now, Nova Scotia, Canada, with Michelin tires. They have 3 plants in Nova Scotia where I live. There's a few plants down in the US also. I actually spent a little bit of time in South Carolina when I was a child. But so it's a Dutch name.
All right, perfect.
I am totally Canadian though. The only thing Dutch in me is half my blood.
Do you want to have an over-under of how many VanderZwaag names there are, different people with the name VanderZwaag that are in the world today? Over-under.
What do you mean? Do I know?
Yeah, we do. I have the actual statistic.
Oh, wow.
Do you think it's greater than 5,000, less than 5,000?
Oh, I think it would probably be greater than. I think so.
1,229 people is the actual name.
What?
Yeah.
I don't
have
believe
that exact last name.
You know why I can't believe that? Because I'm the oldest of 7. And
from
the
a
Dutch
family
love
standpoint,
having kids. Well, I'm going to definitely tell my dad about that, because he's really into the family tree thing. So I'm definitely going to get that info from you and where you got it. All
right. So last book you read.
Oh my gosh. I wish you would have told me these questions before.
That's why we keep it organic here in the den.
Okay. Well, I'm so embarrassed. I have never, ever read a full book in my life. I'm 51.
You know what? You're not the first entrepreneur that I've heard that from.
I'm so embarrassed right now. I can't even
Why?
believe I'm saying this.
Don't be. But let me ask you this. Let's switch it around, because we're in today's world, which reading goes out the window. It's either Audible or a podcast. What's the last podcast you listened to?
Well, I have to admit, I listen to Tommy Mello's podcast. I wouldn't say religiously, but I listened to one just last week.
Tommy Mello's podcast, The Home Service Millionaire.
Yeah,
great podcast.
I don't remember what it was about, but it was good. It usually is very good. But I just on the subject of books, would it count listening to an audiobook?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, the last audiobook, well, I'll tell you the one The one that I like, the Michael Gerber one, what's it called? Of course, everyone always talks. Yeah, E-Myth. So that was probably one of the first and favorite audiobooks that I listened to. I haven't listened to many, to be honest with you, but that one was good. I enjoyed it. And he did the narration too, so it was good.
Which is interesting. One of the last books that I've read is going to be one of your panelists at GutterCon, and Howard Partridge in his book, Failure to Implement.
And I have that book. He gave that to me personally. I have a signed copy. So,
but hold on. But what you're going to have to do is between now and the conference is make sure that you take the opportunity to read that book, or else he's going to watch this and say, "Hey, he didn't read my book." So we're going to get it out of the play.
Well, okay. I'm actually in January. I'm away for a week, some nice sunny place. I'm not going to tell anyone where I'm going to be, but I will make my very best effort to do that.
Prior to going on that trip, when was the last time you left Nova Scotia?
Oh, gee, that was just last month.
Okay, perfect. One of the things that I have heard, and this is kind of in that rapid fire, you don't know where anything's going to go, Q&A, is that to and from coming in and out of Nova Scotia is very, very difficult. As far as from a quarantine standpoint, due to COVID, that you have to be in some quarantines. After you come back from the States, back into Nova Scotia, you got to stay in place, shelter in place. And it's had one of the lowest spreads of the virus.
Nova Scotia was not a hot spot, a cold spot. And
literally
a lot of people wanted to come here. I'll tell you that. It was frustrating doing all the things we did. And I think it was good that we did what we did, but it's not so hard coming in and out now, of course, but certainly last year, wow, we did not. We're not an island, but there's a small causeway, I'll call it, between Nova Scotia and our next province, which is New Brunswick, and it's one road. And the cops were there with the medical people, and they turned away a lot of people.
All right, so let's kind of transition out of the rapid fire and kind of fire ourselves into really a lot of good stuff. First and foremost, you have this conference that's coming up, but the conference couldn't have been made possible if it wasn't a situation of you and your business and wanting to provide others. So let's take a step back from the conference and just talk about your business and you and being a small to medium sized owner. Give the audience a little bit of feedback specifically about the business and how you kind of got started in it and where it's kind of evolved.
Well, you know what, Bill, I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I started mowing lawns when I was 7 years old. I did some painting. I mowed a lot of lawns. I caught chickens. I did everything you can think of to make money when I was a kid. I had a motorcycle, and I just loved. I just loved working and getting my hands dirty, and of course making money. I liked making my own money. And went through high school, and as soon as I got out of high school, I went to university for a year and a half, and it just wasn't for me. I had started a pressure washing business while I was in university, and I just said to myself, I learned more out on the streets washing houses and cars and trucks and running my own business than I will in university. So I don't know if that was the right decision or not, but my son and daughter are both university graduates. My son's just graduating this year with business degree, and my daughter also. And I kind of look back and think, I wish I would have done it, but if I would have done it, I wouldn't be where I am today. So
absolutely,
who knows what my path would have been. I probably wouldn't have had those two children.
Does the pressure washing business still exist, or did you incorporate it in?
No, it does still exist. At least my phone number. It doesn't exist with the same name, and it's gone through a couple different owners, but it still operates in the small community where I grew up. And so it's kind of neat to see my phone number on that truck roll through town when I see it.
So how did you transition out of the pressure washer business into kind of where you are now?
Well, I actually was in the pressure washing business, and I found out about a gutter business. There was 3 owners. It was a 1 truck operation. They were 3 equal owners. And they ran that business for a number of years. I'm going to say probably 10 years. And after 10 years of three guys sitting in a van, they started to think about not sitting in the van together. So I heard through the grapevine that their business was for sale. It was a small business. And I ended up buying that business, and I was going to run both businesses together, but my employee of the pressure washing business asked me if I would sell that business. So I did do that.
Cool.
And that's how I got into the gutter business. And that was in 1998. So
1998.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm dating myself a little bit here.
No. Listen, it's funny is that I'm one of the, I like to call it seasoned employees of One SEO as a digital agency.
Okay.
And there aren't too many people that, that have an understanding of how the phone book works.
I spent a lot of money on Yellow Pages. So
and nobody really asked me how the Yellow Pages worked when I sold it many years ago. It was, I buy a bigger ad, I get more phone calls.
Yeah. Well, Lance was in the Yellow Page business, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
It's an interesting story that we can have at GutterCon as far as.
Okay, good. Over a couple of days,
we've worked together now, going on 20 years.
Oh, wow.
In 3 different companies. And
cool.
I've been here at One SEO now going on in my 9th year. Yeah. So people either say to me, you're extremely insane to deal with that individual for the last 20 years, or you guys have a pretty good working relationship.
Yeah,
and I say it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, I would have to say that too. So I ran that small gutter business in a very small community of about 15,000 people, maybe even less than that. It was just a very small business, 250, 300,000 a year.
Yep.
And, it was a living, and, I was actually on the truck putting gutter up myself. I did the estimates. I did everything myself, and I had a couple employees. And another business came available, and it was actually a franchise, a very small franchise just in our area. There was only 14 offices. And we were kind of like a service master. So flood and fire damage. So we were insurance contractors. And again, I was planning on running both of the businesses together, but another employee asked me, well, would I sell the gutter business? So I sold the gutter business. I ran that contracting business for about 10 years and ended up going through a separation and eventually a divorce.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, but you know what? It's all good. I'm remarried. She's remarried. There was no bickering or anything like that. It was all good. So I don't like talking about it because saying, oh, went through a divorce, because everyone always thinks the worst. It actually was the best for us. So we had 2 beautiful children, and she's happy and I'm happy, and it's all good. So, but I did get out of that business and move to a different community, a bigger city. I kind of got, I wouldn't say sick of, but I just kind of got tired of the small town mentality. I don't know if you know what I mean when you say that, but if you buy a new you buy a new truck, it's like, oh, it must be nice. Everyone knows your business. Heaven forbid someone do well and have a new truck. So that kind of mentality, I guess. Anyway, loved, it was a great town to live in and raise your kids, but I was ready to move on. So I moved to a bigger city, our capital city in Nova Scotia, which is Halifax. It's the municipality is about 450,000 people and growing. We're really a fast growing community here on the East Coast. And I just saw a need for the gutter business here. There were a number of businesses, but they were all like trucks, just white vans with ladders on that just work for contractors. And we really kind of wanted to be branded. And we really tried to focus on doing things differently than the other gutter guys did. So, something different in the gutter business is having a different style of gutter. So we had the normal, what we call a 5-inch K-style gutter, which is what, 99% of the population in North America have on their homes. So we had that, and that was our bread and butter, of course. But we did get a half-round gutter machine, which is, kind of a classic look, more European style. So we did that. And we also have a box gutter machine, which is very modern style of gutter. So we really focused on doing things differently than all the other guys, and hence being able to charge a little bit more too.
Yeah, I think that, it's one thing that you hear Tommy often say is that raise the prices tomorrow, 15-20%. And people get concerned about that because inflation's up.
Yeah.
Can't speak to how much it's up in Canada compared to where it is to the States. But, from our perspective, if you deliver value, price is never an object that you have to worry about.
Yeah.
So your business is thriving, right, in this major metro. What kind of made you come up with the idea of, having this conference to be able to parlay the information that you had learned and that others in the space have learned to be able to say, hey, how can I do this?
Well, I've always looked for a conference to go to. I've been to other business conferences. But I shouldn't say I've been to other business conferences. I've been to some functions like groups, and I always enjoyed. I'll give you an example. Our service software that we use, they put on a conference down in Dallas, and I went to that conference, and just meeting people and hanging out with people, like-minded people. That's what I'm not a software engineer. I'm not I like software. I think it's neat. It helps my business. So, when I heard this conference, I was like, I'm going to go. So I have gone, I've just always looked for a gutter conference. I've heard of other conferences for roofing business, or for, the roofing industry, the metal industry. It just seems like everyone's got a conference, but there was no gutter conference. And it was just something that was in the back of my mind. And I've got another business that I'm working on, which is called Gutter Experts. And right now it's just really a website, and we've got some plans to build that out and do more things with it. But it really all kind of started there. I was running my Metro Gutter and Home Services business here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And honestly, Bill, we're not a big company. We're a small company. We're under $1 million a year. So we really struggle with employees, like everyone lately. I think we could probably be doing a couple million if we could find the right people. And honestly, that is our focus for Metro Gutter and Home Services in 2023, is listening to all the advice that I get from the Tommy Mellos and all the people that I've met over the last couple of years doing this. We're really going to step up our game there.
But I'm going to give you a plug to a colleague, as far as somebody that maybe it's not in 23, but definitely get him for GutterCon 24, is Jody Underhill, because I'm sure that and he spoke at Vertical Track.
Okay.
And Jody's one of the premier in the recruiting space for the trades.
Okay.
And
what's his business?
It's called Rapid Fire Hiring with Jody Underhill. I knew it. I just couldn't think of it at the time. But I think the thing is that it's the challenge that not just a gutter company faces. It's the challenge that a digital marketing agency company faces. It's the challenge that a garage door company or a roofing, siding, air conditioning company, they all face right now the challenge of being in a situation of saying, how do I get more employees? Work's not the issue.
No, I have too much work. Like we turn away work because we just can't do it. It's as a business owner, it's very frustrating because we just have so much work to do. And, there's so many people that, like, especially in your business, you're working with people that are always looking for work. Like in my business, I'm going to raise my prices so I get less work. It's so stupid. But anyway, we're going to fix that.
Those are all things that can definitely come into the play. So you decide you want to put this conference together.
Yeah, there just wasn't anyone doing it. And it was kind of in the back of my mind. And honestly, COVID helped me get this going. And also turning 50. I was, leading up to, I turned 50 last year, and the year leading
Congrats,
up to
welcome to the club.
Oh, thank you. So I'm actually 51 now, but leading up to, like, in my 48th, 49th year, I had this I don't want to call it a burning desire, but it was just something that I was thinking about. And, every once in a while I'd be sitting in front of the computer and Google search conference gutter, and, never anything came up. So I started when COVID hit. We in the construction business here, and I'm sure down the States, like it didn't slow down that much. We kept on trucking. We took 3 weeks off. I think that was it. Just like when everything first, when everything hit the fan, that first, I think it was February 2020, right?
Yeah, March timeframe.
Yeah, so it was good timing for us. We were having our spring break, so I just told my guy, I just laid everyone off. I said, look, I don't know how long this is going to last. It's spring break, so stay home with your family, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks. And we got back to work pretty well right away. But over those 3 weeks is when I really said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm turning 50. Before I know it, I'm going to be 60. Like I'm not going to do a conference when I'm 60. I mean, I guess I could, but that really was the time. And that's when I started knocking on a couple doors. There was specifically two companies that I spoke to before I kind of announced it. One was, we decided to have it in Denver the first year. And the reason we did that is because I needed something to structure the conference around. And in Denver, there's a gutter machine company, a company that manufactures gutter machines. They're called New Tech Machinery. And I said, okay, well, Denver seems like kind of a neat place to go. So I talked to them about putting on this conference, and I asked if they would if they were open to doing a factory tour, because I thought that would be something that gutter guys would say, oh yeah, that's kind of neat. Let's go see this. So that's how they were on board. And then I got another sponsor, one of our gutter protection product companies out of Canada that I actually deal with on a regular basis. I spoke to them about it, and they had a brand in the States that they wanted to kind of get going a little bit more. So they felt that GutterCon was going to be a good fit. And honestly, I don't think either of those two companies really thought I was going to be able to pull it off. But I think they were hopeful that I was going to. So
how many attendees did you have in the first year?
We just had shy of 100. So it was about 96, I think it was.
Okay. And you now have shifted into Orlando. For the January timeframe.
Yeah, we're shooting for 250. I think, if we have 200 to 250, I think we'll be pretty happy with that if we could double it.
What could somebody that has a gutter business, or specifically does roofing, siding, and gutters, what could they get out of the
oh my gosh. Look, I really think, of course, you mentioned about the speakers, and I know we're probably going to talk a little bit about that too. I hope we do. But I think it's just meeting other gutter guys. It's kind of crazy. We have a conference all day. We're talking about gutters. Yep. We're at lunch. We're talking about gutters. We're at happy hour. We're talking about gutters. And then we're at a hockey game that night. We're still talking about gutters. Like when you're around like-minded people, people just get excited to talk about the stuff they like to talk about.
Do you think it's really that, from your perspective, is it that they're talking about gutters, or are they really talking about business?
No,
gutters just happens to be the widget.
It just happens to be our business, of course. Yes. But the gutter business isn't really glamorous, but I always said I wouldn't care what I was doing. I could be running a little pumper, pooper truck, and I'd be happy if it was mine. I wouldn't want to go work for someone doing that, but if it was mine, I'd like it. Right. So right. I love running my own business. I like, charting my own course, and but it's tough. Like, running a business is not easy. So
you do have, and let's shift that. You have a power lineup of people that are coming from inside the business itself, and Ben and Corey and yourself. But and
Tina, don't forget about Tina.
Oh, I'm sorry, and Tina. I'm just randomly throwing out the names.
I know you are, but I'll tell you, you asked about this. I met those three at GutterCon last year. I never knew them before. And Corey's probably the biggest singly owned gutter company in North America. I have no doubt in my mind he is. And here he is talking at GutterCon.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you know, you have a dynamic arrangement of, you know, legendary people in Howard Partridge. I mean, him speaking, it's worth the investment in itself for somebody that hasn't heard a Lance Bachman or a Howard Partridge or a Tommy Mello. You know, there's one thing that I can say is that, first of all, I'm sure that everybody from Megan Likes to the rest of the you know, the people that will be there, everybody brings energy to these shows, but like to see it live is a completely different entity than watching it on a podcast. Like the energy that's created, like, you know, it's funny as you see people that they're writing notes like feverishly of things that they want to do. Yeah. And sometimes, you know, you have to set back and say, okay, after I leave a show, I want to prioritize. Yeah. Because it's often said that 95% of the information that you take at a show, you'll never implement. No, you're right. You'll be like, oh my God, this is great. I'm going to go with Service Titan. The fact is that all these people have these great ideas that they've made work for their business. But if you're not willing to put the time, energy into making it work for your business, you're not going to go anywhere. Well, you just before we chatted, you held up a little book. What was it called? It's called Failure to Implement. There you go. There you go. You know, obviously, you can't argue with Howard's success in business. You know, #1 carpet cleaner in the Houston market for many. I think he might be #1 in the nation. But when he gets on stage and speaks, it's like, oh, he's a powerful speaker for sure. You know, here's a guy that, you know, look at the company. He was not only from his business as a small to medium sized business in carpet cleaning, but now he's at Zig Ziglar. Like you don't get like that type of information, whether you're in the gutter business, whether you're in the HVAC business. It's just, you can't get it anywhere else than at some of these shows that are out there. And, you know, I think your lineup for GutterCon is going to bring home the house, and people are going to worth get the value of going to it. What from your perspective are some of the things you would say in your 30-second elevator pitch of, this is what I want business owners to take away from like I think you just said it. If they can take one or two things away from GutterCon and implement in their business year one. You know, it could be any number of things, like, you know, Megan, like she's always got great information about accounting. Like, who wants to talk about accounting? But you have to, because you own a business, and accounting is a pretty important part of business. And I'll tell you, I've been behind on my accounting before, and it's not a good feeling when you're behind. Like you're making decisions. You're not making decisions on what's happening today. You're making decisions about last year, and it doesn't really matter what happened last year. We got to move on and make sure this year's running right. So accounting is a big thing. But yeah, I think taking away 1, 2, even if you took away 3 things, like the money you spent coming to GutterCon, you'll get that back in a month. Easily. No doubt. A week. You know, one of the things that I often tell people, whether it be any show they go to, and I would suggest that for those newcomers coming to the show, #1 is link up with people before. You know, from a social media standpoint, putting them in a position to see who's going. Have an agenda of what you want to accomplish while you're at the show. And last but not least, and some people are like, well, Bill, you can't be pushing that type of content. I think the greatest lessons that any business owner learns at a conference happens between 8 p.m. and 11:30 at the bar. Yeah, I agree. Okay, you're going to get more information and insight of what other people are doing it's interesting. The guy that's doing, and there's a guy that I met a few years back. We had recently got into an organizational group called Nexstar. Nexstar is probably one of the premier coaching and organizational groups for the heating, electrical, plumbing, and contractors across America. It's very, very. Julian spoke at Tommy's event in May from. I
remember.
Just a powerful organization of wealth and knowledge. And so I flew out, and this is in 2018. I flew out to be a part of this show, this leadership summit, and went out and kind of sat down. And I flew from Philly to Seattle, which cross country to Seattle might be one of the hardest flights you can go, because especially if you're flying direct, you're on that flight for 6 hours and you're just exhausted by the time you get there. And then you got to make the drive from SeaTac into the city, and it's just a really change. The time change, right? Yeah. So I get into the Hyatt, I go right, and I'm like, I'm going to go right and have a beer. It's been a long day. Let's just go right to the bar. Not even going up. The luggage is coming with me, right? And so I go to the bar and I sit down and I start talking to this guy, and he comes in and he's like, I said, are you in for the Nexstar show? And he says, yes. So I just started talking to him. And here's the thing that I would promote for anybody going to a show. If you're a gutter company doing 250,000, okay, networking with the guy that did 250,000 is not who you network with. Okay, because he has the same problems that you do at 250,000. Okay, you want to go talk to the guy who's doing $1 million, because he's now going to be able to tell you, how do you implement systems? How do you go about process? What kind of CRM are you using? All the things that you go from being out of the truck. And as Gerber says, get out of being in the business and start managing the business.
Yeah, work on the business.
Yeah. And so if there's any advice that I give, is pre-plan your show. Be in a situation where when you come to that show, you're ready to network. Number 3 is that you know what you're going to do, what you hope to attain out of it. And then last but not least, be in a situation that you're networking with people throughout the show, and take names, numbers, put yourself in a position, bring plenty of business cards if you don't, because it's there's such a sharing of information at these shows of, the guy that is like yourself that's going to be there, and somebody comes up to you and says, hey, Bren, what are you doing to make your business successful this way? Or what product are you using? Or how do you better, manage your employees, et cetera? That's where you're going to turn to Lance and say, hey, how do we get more people in the recruiting side of things? Or, talking to Tommy as far as what he's doing from, his different situations. And so it's just, I think, an incredible experience. First of all, congratulations for having 250 businesses and people coming to GutterCon. And I assume that you can still get tickets at this point. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, we're not sold out yet by any means, but we are. It's so funny. Last year was my first, or this year, that was my first time doing a conference. And I can't believe how many people leave it till the last minute. Like, the last couple of weeks, it was crazy how people signed up. But yeah, I think, and the nice thing, I've been to a few conferences this year, and some are bigger. Like I was at RoofCon in Orlando in last month, and there was over 3,000 people there. I mean, that is a big conference. I don't think GutterCon will ever be that big, and I don't know. I don't know if I want it that big, to be honest with you, because what I found with, of course, with only having 100 people there, the nice thing was you probably got to shake everyone's hand, right? You got to actually meet everyone, and even 200, 250 people, there's a good chance that you'll probably meet most people in that room. So it's a little bit more intimate that GutterCon is, and I kind of like that.
I think the perception of it, that where you could take it, and the mantra you have, it's the effect of going to a big wedding at the church versus a destination wedding. Here, when you go to the destination wedding, you get to spend 3 days with people enjoying that show and what that opportunity is to network and be able to. So I think intimacy in the size of an event definitely can have a lot of aspects around it. Talk to me a little bit about what kind of tactics are you using outside of podcasts like this to promote the event.
Well, we're actually most of my the way I get to meet people is through Facebook, to be honest with you. There are a number of Facebook groups and, that have thousands of gutter guys on them. So it's an easy way to reach people from all parts of the country, right? That's been our main focus.
What would you, well, give me one of those groups. Give me one of those groups.
Well, gutter company owners.
Gutter company owners. Okay.
Yeah. Another, and that really is, you have to be a gutter company owner to be in that group.
Okay.
There's another group called gutter installers. And of course, there's gutter company owners in that group as well, but there's a lot of installers there also. So, I'm not saying that an installer wouldn't be welcome at GutterCon. Of course, anyone, even if you're not in the gutter business, if you're thinking about getting into the gutter business, come to GutterCon. But it's really geared towards the business owner or someone in upper management in the gutter business, in the gutter industry. So, most of what we're talking about is, how to make your business better. A lot of business advice, like Tommy Mello, he doesn't do gutters, he does garage doors, but he's in the service business. So he's got employees like I do. He is advertising like I do. He's getting stuff done like I do. He's out on the roads like I do. So, our businesses are very similar.
Well, the interesting thing about Tommy is that, as busy as a guy he is,
yeah.
And he will pick up the phone, and you could call him right now and be like, "Hey, Tommy, what are you doing? You got 2 minutes for me?" And he's like, "No, I don't have 2 minutes now, but I'll call you back in 3." And you're like, "Okay." And then the phone rings in 3 minutes.
3 minutes later, yeah.
And you're getting your questions out to him,
yeah.
And he's just such he's a guy that you want to be aligned with. He has a tremendous following, and he's built an incredible business. I mean, to think that A1's probably in the vicinity of 200 million this year from a guy that started painting garage doors. I mean, like,
it's crazy.
It is crazy. It's crazy to think about that.
Well, and what I find pretty neat, I've only known him a couple of years, and it's amazing the growth he's had in a couple of years. Like he's really transformed his business over the last couple of years.
And I think you said it earlier, from my perspective, is that one of the things that's like-minded people. It's interesting when I heard Lance. I've known Lance for 20 plus years. And we've been through ups and downs. We've fought like brothers. We've hugged like brothers, and we have such a dynamic relationship. But to see so many people that are very similar to Lance, and the intensity that they bring to growing their business, I think people are going to really be locked on as far as the wealth of information. Here's a guy that grew up in an orphanage. He now has,
he's going to tell a story, I'm sure.
Yeah, 6-7 businesses that are doing well over 100 million. We were just at our holiday party last night for all the companies, and you're looking at
it into work today.
What's that?
And you made it into work today.
Well, yes, I did. It's obviously a scenario where I feel pretty good today, and that's what happens when you eliminate the alcohol out of your life. But
oh wow, okay.
We got a lot going on here for us for the holidays. When you look at what is going to happen over the course of the next month for you, your schedule between what you got going on professionally and a multitude of businesses is going to get crazy. There are going to be some people that from this podcast that want to reach out to you. What's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you, Bren?
Oh, well, certainly our GutterCon Facebook page is a good way. But we also, I'll also give my email, and I do a lot of work by text and on my cell phone. So I'll give that to you too.
Here's my question for you. Obviously, if one of the particular home service-based businesses says, "Oh my God, I got to go to the show," what's the easiest way for them to get tickets to the event? Gutter-con.com to start that process.
That's the easiest way, and can happen very quickly that way.
And
there's an agenda there, that some speakers, a little bio about who's speaking there. I've actually got one more speaker that I'm going to be uploading. I'm really excited. He's going to be chatting about succession planning.
It's a good one.
Oh, it is, and I'm excited about it because I'm 51. You know,
Absolutely.
so you might not be thinking about it if you're a 25-year-old gutter guy, but there's a lot of people that I've met that you got to think about. Running your business is good, but what happens after?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we like to do here on the Den is we call it the final roar. It's your way to kind of give your overall perspective of why should somebody come to GutterCon? What's it going to benefit for them? So that when you get that 30-second snippet, you can say, this is a show I need to be at.
I did a little podcast the other day with Tina and Corey and Ben and Vitali. They're my board of directors for GutterCon, and each one of them. And I'll say this too. I just met so many people, like-minded people, hanging out with like-minded people. I can't say how beneficial that is. There's a couple people that I met at GutterCon, and I just pick up the phone now and we'll chat while I'm driving to a meeting. We'll just chat about whatever's happening. It's just fantastic.
Well, listen, here's the thing. Great people make a lot more energy together than they do by themselves.
Sure do.
And I think that when you have a show like GutterCon, it's going to be a scenario where people are going to take great information to make their business a little bit better, and bring the value to being able to see some great speakers here. You, Mandy, Megan, Corey, Ben, Lance, Tommy, your lineup is incredible.
Thank you for
so congratulations on the success of getting that together. I look forward to seeing you in person.
Well, give me a minute here just to also thank you guys. You guys have really stepped up to the plate. One SEO. I think you guys are, I know you guys are sponsoring one of these evening events. You guys have got the Saturday night VIP NBA game. We've got a double skybox, which is, if you're ever going to watch any sort of game, whether at GutterCon, the number one in April, we had a skybox and we watched a hockey game. I'm not a big NHL fan, but if you're going to watch a hockey game, the skybox is the way to do it. So we've got a double.
Cool. We're excited about the opportunity, and we truly appreciate the relationship that we're having with you and the rest of your team at GutterCon, and we're excited about the continued success of you bringing back to the small to medium-sized entrepreneur some great information through some great speakers. Get on gutter-con.com and check it out. And I look forward to seeing you in February.
Yeah, you too, Bill.